Today I'd like to talk to you about a rant of mine. I really hate it when people drill this into the ground. That is, feminism is for equality or feminism means equality. I think feminism started out well. You know, they spoke up for women when women had no voice, when they didn't have the right to vote. And that's great. And I would have been fighting for them to have the vote as well. The definition of feminism, which is what people like to just constantly go to uh, whenever you mention anything bad about feminism, and they say it just means equality or it just is for equality. And they're like, look up the definition. And the definition, the most common one I could find, is the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality to men. You know, it doesn't just say, uh, they're fighting for equal rights. It says they're fighting for, or it's advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of equal rights to men. And the problem with that is that even after they've achieved equal rights and more, they don't stop advocating for women's rights. They continue to do so, and they continue to do it on the grounds of equal rights to men, even though the reality is they've far surpassed men in rights. And now men need some equaling of rights, which of course to them seems like oppression because they've been up on a pedestal for so long. To be equal with men now, to where women have to sign up for the draft. Man can't even go to college without signing up for the draft. To be equal with men now, they would have to take a step down. So they look at equal rights as oppression. And it's like that with many issues. I would have stood with women if they had less rights than men. And now I'm asking for all truly equality-minded women out there, feminist or no, to stand with men instead of against them when they have issues that need talked about. And understand that you are speaking from a privileged position. It's real easy to say how oppressed you are. Meanwhile, men go to war and die in battle constantly. We've always been cannon fodder. We have the highest suicide rate. We have all the shit jobs. They're not advocating for any of those jobs. They just want more female CEOs. So the definition is all well and good, but a movement's actions defines how people see it and what it actually means to them. What do you do when a idea or a movement defines themselves opposite to what they advocate for, the system that they advocate for? We see this in many forms. Feminism says they're for equality, yet they're pulling fire alarms on men that are just having to place to talk about their issues, and this is like a constant. And, Islam says it's for peace, yet when's the last time you've seen a human head freshly detached from its body, not held by a Muslim? When a movement's actions are the opposite of whatever the hell they define themselves at, there's a bunch of realists out there that should have a little bit of naturalistic observation happen and be able to realize they're full of shit. And I think that everyone speaking out against this shit is one of those people. And all the rest are a bunch of sheep. And they see other sheep. They don't see a wolf underneath that fucking cloak. They're too dumb to see that that's a fucking wolf wearing sheep's clothing. Feminism achieved equality with men at the end of second wave feminism. And that's why people say they don't like third wave feminism, because now they're just nitpicking. I want a female president. I think it sets the precedent, shows that we don't have a glass ceiling in America. Anyone who can do it is able to run for the job. But I'm afraid of having a feminist president with all their nitpicking of man spreading and men getting arrested in New York for just sitting too wide-legged. Meanwhile, women take up a whole bench and old people standing there, crippled. Now imagine what that would be like, that sort of nitpickiness, you know, when you have your finger on the nuclear button. Feminism now is just a supremacy group because they're still advocating for more rights, even though men are down, a handful of rights. Half a dozen or so, last time I looked it up. Feminism continually fights against equality across the board on issues. At what point will feminism actually stop acquiring extra rights? Will they ever call it quits? They've reached their goals. Will they stop? What do you do when a movement, after it reaches its goals, continues to press for more and more goals, but instead of these goals being able to be achieved on an equal playing field, the new goals now squash everyone who they don't like into the dust in society and continually rises them up on a pedestal. Feminism has a big campaign of stop violence towards women because they know very well that nearly half the violence that happens out there in domestic disputes is towards men, and women are more likely to initiate violence, and also men are more likely to suffer physical attacks. And they talk about a bullshit 1 in 5 rape statistic for women, but there's a real 1 in 6 rape statistic for men. None of these things do they care about. They don't care about violence towards men. They're actively fighting against equality. So you can cite the definition all you'd like, and you can tell me the feminism means equality or it's for equality, and you can tell me Islam means peace, but it just looks like bullshit to me. If you have an argument against what I'm saying, I'd like to hear it. We are forced to judge an idea by the system they advocate for, and feminism only advocates for female supremacy, which is why they to this day are a female supremacist group. There already exist groups with definitions that mean equality for the sexes, the races, and everyone. One is humanitarianism, the other is egalitarianism. And as far as I know, both of them care about rights of children as well, which no one else addresses. I think children, men, and women should all have equal rights. So people that say they're for equality, maybe they should drop that dumbass moniker of that supremacy group, feminism, and join the rest of the world in civilized discussion, and not from a standpoint of confrontation at the outset. Anyway, that's it. I'll talk to y'all next time. Peace.